Hi friends, Dave the Insurance Guy. I'm about to do a video on debunking the myth that Jack Ruby was hired to silence Oswald. But before I do that, this is what I've done today. I've fixed my daughter's LD. And what I did is I went to YouTube and learned how to replace this piece. Bought this on eBay for $35. It attaches to the turbocharger. That's the bad one. The dealer wanted $980. So a little bit of elbow grease and sweat for the insurance guy. I was able to repair it for $35. It's early in Las Vegas. It's already 106 degrees. This is what we have to do, cover our cars. If not, the sun will just bake your paint. And although it's 106 degrees, I still do the coffee thing. Okay, on to debunking the myth of Jack Ruby was hired to silence Oswald. Friends, Jack Ruby was born March the 25th, 1911 in Chicago, Illinois. His birth name was Jacob Leon Rubenstein. In 1947, when he moved to Dallas, he shortened his name to Jack Ruby, Jack Leon Ruby. He also was called a nickname Sparky. Everybody thought it was because of his quick temper. But as Eva says, it's because of the childhood cartoon Barney Google. There's a horse called Sparkplug or Sparky. This was Jack's favorite childhood cartoon, and according to Eva, that's where he got the nickname Sparky. This is Eva leaving her apartment. This day, she doesn't look too anxious to be Jack Ruby's sister. But how would we be if we had a camera in our face and under the microscope? Friends, I've studied the JFK assassination since 1988. I don't know everything about everything, but I do know this subject. And today, I will debunk the myth that Jack Ruby was hired by the mob to assassinate or to silence Lee Harvey Oswald. Jack Ruby owned the Carousel Club, located downtown Dallas, 1312 and a half Commerce Street. Burlesque show. This is what it looks like today, 2017. I just wonder if these people know the history right behind them. It's a bus stop. Here's Jack Ruby and some of his employees. They are strippers. You know, if Jack Ruby knew anything, he would tell it within one block of walking downtown Dallas. He'd always show up at fires or car wrecks. He always had to kind of be in the center of attention. This personality isn't the type that the government or a foreign government or the mob would hire to silence Oswald. Friends, after the assassination, Jack closed his place of business. This is a sign he placed in the window Friday evening. The assassination was on a Friday. Although he loved and admired President Kennedy, he wasn't nowhere near the motorcade. In fact, he was at the Dallas Morning News placing ads for his business. Nowhere near the assassination. In fact, I kind of forgot that President Kennedy would be passing right through town. So again, If Jack's involved in the assassination, why in the world is he at the newspaper placing ads for his business? Friends, here's Jack at the Dallas Police Department. Jack, again, always had to be where the action was. And here's mingling with the reporters. This is on the third floor of the Dallas Police Department. Just up to the right, that little sign sticking out of the wall is homicide. And that's where Lee Harvey Oswald is being interrogated. Jack posing as a reporter. This is actually in a basement of the Dallas Police Department. This is where Lee Harvey Oswald will be brought out later to talk to the press and be in a lineup. If Jack Ruby is hired to silence Oswald or to kill him, why didn't he take a shot at him at this press conference? He did have his pistol in his right pocket at this time. Friends, this is the jail cell Oswald was kept in. He was here Friday, Saturday, and checked out Sunday morning. Jim Lavelle here, he's 96 years old. This is a recent picture. He did a like a floor plan, a diagram of where Oswald was kept. This is it. He was isolated. He's in the middle cell here. There's no prisoners on each side of him. And there's also a police officer that sat in a metal chair just outside of cell 1 to keep an eye on Oswald. And now, friends, we're back on the third floor of the Dallas Police Department. Look at all these media people, mainly newspaper and radio. Television was just becoming of age in the early 60s. It really wasn't your main source for news. It was newspaper and radio. They would parade Oswald down this hallway into another room, a holding room, in between interrogations. It was just a real madhouse. A lot of these reporters have been here since Friday night. And at midnight, Saturday, here's Chief Curry announcing to the press, if you just go home and get some rest, and if you come back by 10 a.m. Sunday morning, you won't miss anything. That meant they were going to move Oswald at 10 a.m. from the city jail downtown to the county jail, which is uptown Dallas. It's about 5 or 6 blocks west of where Oswald is kept at this time. Jack Ruby has heard this, my friends. There was no security. Anybody could have gone right into the police department, gone up to the third floor and blended in just like your reporter. There was no security, and Jack Ruby's present and hears that Oswald, if you come back at, actually Chief Curry's words were, if you go home, get some rest, and if you come back no later than 10 a.m., you won't miss anything. So, friends, Jack Ruby goes home to his apartment. It looks like there's a hotel here now, City Inn and Suites. But this was the location of his apartment building, located at 321 South Ewing. It's in the Oak Cliff part of town. Friends, this part's very important. A few minutes before 10, Little Lynn, who was a stripper at the Carousel Club, pictured here with Jack Ruby, wakes him up and says, Jack, I need to pay my rent. Friends, remember the carousel's closed Friday and Saturday due, out of respect for President Kennedy. So Jack says, okay, I'll get up. I'll go downtown and wire you some money from the Western Union. Lola Lynn lived in Fort Worth. Friends, if Jack Ruby's life depends on him killing Oswald, why in the world is he sound asleep around 10 a.m.? Friends, Jack Ruby was really in no hurry to get downtown and wire that money. This is his day off. He even went for a swim, according to the testimony of his roommate, George Senator. Friends, this is the map that Jack Ruby took that morning heading downtown Dallas. The red circle represents where his apartment is located in the Oak Cliff part of Dallas. And he's heading north, following the green line. And he even goes off course to go through Dealey Plaza. That's where JFK was assassinated. Again, friends, in no big hurry to get to the Western Union. The red arrow is where he's heading east on Main Street. The X represents where the Western Union is located. Jack makes it to the Western Union and parks his car across the street in this parking lot. Jack loved dogs. His favorite dog is Sheba. Sheba is with Jack on this trip. Sheba is in the car across the street from the Western Union. So again, if you're there to kill Lee Harvey Oswald, why in the world would you bring your dog with you and leave your dog in the car? Here's a picture of Jack's dogs at work at his office, and everybody I know who has a picture of their pets at work genuinely loves their pets. Friends, this is the Western Union located downtown Dallas. If you look down the road, you'll see a red arrow. That is the Dallas Police Department. Underneath that, the blue arrow represents the entrance to the basement. The testimony of the clerk at the Western Union was that Jack Ruby was in no hurry. He small-talked some of the other customers. He waited in line patiently, no rush. Finally, at 11:17 is the exact moment on his receipt that the money was wired to Fort Worth. 11:17 a.m. Now, friends, we're down here at the police department. Far left blue arrow, that's the Western Union. It takes about 2 minutes to walk from there to the Dallas basement. I've walked it myself. I've measured it walking quickly and at an average pace. Takes about 2 minutes. Jack Ruby exits the Western Union. And remember, he's got his dog with him, Sheba, and notices the activity down to the police department. So he walks down there. Oh yeah, that's where Oswald is. And he arrives there probably about 11:19, 11:20. This is the entrance to the basement. Jack Ruby walks right down this ramp. Where the blue X is where he actually shoots Oswald at about 11:20, 11:21 a.m. This whole area is saturated with newspaper and radio reporters. There's also an NBC pool camera there that's live and recorded the actual killing of Lee Harvey Oswald. This is Jim Lavelle in a light-colored suit. He's actually handcuffed to Oswald. This is him, most recent picture. What's interesting about Jim Lavelle, he was also in Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, which was on a Sunday. He was also, handcuffed to Oswald that Sunday, November 24th. And Jim said to me during one of our visits that he says, you know, Dave, anymore, I just stay home on Sundays. But anyway, on the other side of the coin, Jim told me that he had Oswald handcuffed and they were getting on the elevator to come down to be transferred. And Oswald thought it was kind of chilly and he wanted to get a sweater. So they get off the elevator, which is up on the fifth floor, mind you, and Oswald picks a dark sweater out, puts it on. They re-handcuff Oswald and put him back on the elevator, and they come down to the basement. From the fifth floor to the basement. And if you watch that NBC footage, you'll see Jim exit the basement elevator with Oswald, and they start heading to the police car for the transfer. About that very moment when Jack Ruby walks up and shoots him. So there you go, friends. If there's a conspiracy in this, it's beyond me. Because how can you time something any better than that? More evidence that this was a spur of a moment decision by Jack Ruby to shoot Lee Harvey Oswald. Friends, I want to share with you that Jim told me that while he and L.C. Graves was preparing Oswald for the transfer, L.C.'s in a dark suit here, that Jim said to Lee, if anybody starts shooting, I just hope they're as good a shot as you are, meaning that they hit Oswald and not Jim. And Oswald kind of snickered, laughed a little bit, and Jim said that was the only emotion that Oswald showed all weekend. And then he said his famous last words, well, nobody's going to shoot at me. And, within a minute later, he's shot by Jack Ruby. So, friends, you never know when your time's coming. Make sure you have things right and in order with the Lord. Friends, this is a diagram of the Dallas basement, the police department basement. The dotted line represents Lee Harvey Oswald, Jim Lavelle, L.C. Graves getting off the elevator, heading to the police car. The yellow line represents Jack Ruby coming from Western Union straight down the ramp. Boom, Oswald, spur of the moment shot. And here's Ruby walking right up, shooting Oswald as they head to the police car. This picture actually won a Pulitzer Prize, Bob Jackson photo. If you look at the picture where Jim's handcuffed Oswald, you see a little bulge, and Jim said he had a gun under his jacket there. He's actually trying to pull Oswald out of the way, trying to yank him. He turned him sideways, and Ruby got him right there in the rib area. Ouch. Here's Oswald wearing the sweater. You know, if he didn't stop and get that sweater, he'd have been on out of there, heading downtown or uptown. Here's the sweater after his ride to Parkland Hospital. They cut it off of him trying to save his life. Here it is with the bullet hole, the actual bullet hole. And friends, this is a gun. It was a .38 Cobra used to shoot Oswald. I can see it's got some scratches in it with initials. That would be police officers scratching their initials in it as evidence. The gun ended up in the hands of Earl Ruby, Jack's brother, and I believe it sold at auction a few years back I think it was around $200,000 to a gun collector. Bob Jackson, this is a Pulitzer Prize winner that took that famous picture. Bob, I've seen him do many interviews, kind of a humble guy. This is a camera he actually used that very day. I have a copy of this picture. It's actually signed by Jim Lavelle to Dave, my favorite insurance agent, and he signed it. I think it was April of 2008 or 2008. It's in my insurance office now. When Bob took this picture, he thought he missed it, and he developed the negative himself, and he was pretty excited to see the way it's come out. This picture has made him lots and lots of money throughout the years. It's opened doors for him, for better jobs and higher income. Also, he was part of the motorcade going through Dealey Plaza, and he heard Oswald shot from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, and he was grabbing his camera to get a picture of that area, but he was out of film, if you can believe that. He saw Oswald, he can identify him, but he was out of film. How'd you like to have luck like that? If he could have had that picture too. Wow. Friends, Jack Ruby truly thought he was going to be a national hero by shooting Lee Harvey Oswald, and in a whole lot of people he was, but he wasn't in the eyes of the Dallas Police Department, because here's their arrest report. The subject shot and killed Lee Harvey Oswald, dated Sunday, November 24th, 1963. Jim kept a suit he was wearing that day. It was a Neiman Marcus suit, and Jim told me with a police officer's salary he wasn't able to afford to buy a Neiman Marcus suit, but a friend of his gave him this suit, and it was originally a double-breasted suit, but Jim had it cut down to a regular suit, and I've actually tried a coat on, and to this day Jim still owns it, and he donated it for viewing to the 6th floor museum. Still has a hat, the tie, and even the boots. Jim even has original handcuffs. These are the actual cuffs that was on him and Lee Harvey Oswald. Still has them to this day. During one of my visits with Jim, he shared a story with me that back in the day, the public can come to the police department and purchase handcuffs, and sometimes Jim would help the public, help the individual. I think they went for $20, and Jim would go back to the squad room kind of joking, I just sold another one of those Oswald cuffs for $20. Jack Ruby's mugshot, November the 24th, 1963. Looks like he's got a bump in the forehead, probably being tackled by the Dallas police that day. Friends, this is the jury that convicted Jack Ruby of murder in Dallas. The verdict was later overturned by the appeals court because they felt that Jack Ruby could not get a fair trial in Dallas. Plus, Judge Joe Brown Jr. was writing a book about the trial. It was rescheduled. Well, it was scheduled for a retrial in Wichita Falls, Texas, but Jack Ruby died January 3rd, 1967, before it came to trial. That means, friends, that Jack Ruby died an innocent man. This is Dave, the insurance guy, and I will see you at the top.